Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dark Souls 3 New Guide walkthrough. We're still in voiceover land, so this is all post-recording, editing, voiceover stuff, so I'm going to do my best with it. I feel like my live commentary is at least a little better because it's more relevant to what we're doing at the time, but, you know, this is what we got for some reason. The capturing software didn't decide to get my microphone input, so I'm just talking to myself for a couple hours because I recorded 3 episodes yesterday. I'm going to try to edit them out and get them out to you guys quickly. So we're doing the Cathedral of the Deep right now. I just picked up a notched whip. It's a whip that causes bleed. So, I mean, it's a whip, so it's not that great, but it still can be pretty neat. So this is your main bonfire. This is the central hub of this area. So right now I'm just going through, and we're going to go to the right first. If you were playing here and you didn't go grab that Estus shard, it would be over at this fountain right here, right above my head. And I think I was just waiting to show that and to talk about it a little bit. And yeah, so you kill these guys and just go over, grab your shard, and then you can hop down here. So these enemies over here, they're just basically a, I don't know, sentient rat king of maggots. They're weak to fire, so if you have your torch equipped, just hit them with the torch, and they'll do extra damage to them. So you see how he hit me right there, and my bleed is slowly building. If you pull out your torch, the bleed will go away. And yeah, you hit him with the fire, he does like a special stun animation, and he takes extra damage because the torch definitely doesn't do that much damage to normal things. So usually what I'll do, and what a lot of people do, they'll just have their torch so that they can burn the maggots off if they get hit, and then, you know, just hit them with the torch, hit them with your weapon. Just alternate. Now it's a way to get the best damage across and not get hit by these things. And that's that. So right over here is your Saint Tree Bellvine. It's a casting catalyst, miracle catalyst. And it's like a talisman. And it's not that great. I don't see anybody ever use it, and I don't think I've ever needed to use it or wanted to. So it's there just for completionist's sake. So we're going to go up this way, and there's going to be a Titanite shard, I think, to the right, which I'm not going to get right now because Crystal Lizard. So you'll notice how I veered off to the left pretty hard and he ran straight into the wall. The Crystal Lizards will always run directly opposite of you, so you can herd them into advantageous spots that way. And then up ahead there's going to be another Crystal Lizard, and there's going to be a large Crystal Lizard. So those can be some pretty fun and interesting fights. The large Crystal Lizard, at least, not the small one. Small one's not going to be very interesting or fun. It's basically chasing him around. It's better than the Crystal Lizards and Demon's Souls, though. Crystal Lizards and Demon's Souls were like, oh god, they were frustrating. Like you'd barely ever get them, or if you did, you would just have to have like prerequisite knowledge of the fact that it's there, and yeah, so right now I'm going to fight another one of those maggot things, and I'm going to get the Poisonbite ring, which will come in a little handy in Farron Keep. But same story with these things. They're not usually very interesting to fight. You just hit them and stun them and stagger them and do your thing. So you get the Poisonbite ring, it increases your poison resistance. And yeah, there's that. So right over here is the Crystal Lizard. I don't know if I'm going to fight it just yet. Nope. So there's another item over here that I used to miss all the time because this little ramp is, I don't know, doesn't really catch my eye, so I just kept forgetting about it, and I think it's like a Titanite shard. Yeah. So it's not the most vital piece of loot at this point. You should have plenty, but still stuck in a tree. Better than nothing. So this guy won't aggro you right away, so you can usually get a couple of free charged heavy hits on him and then kind of back away. And then, you know, you're just going to do the same thing you normally do with these guys, is you're going to kind of keep your distance until you can get around their kind of left hind quarter, avoid the tail attack, and you're gonna just swing away at them. And yeah, hopefully when you stagger them like I did, you don't actually run away. You just, you know, hit them with the visceral attack. But it's not as vital now because you should be able to kind of face tank these guys at this point, because you should have a ton of health if you're doing what I'm doing. And you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. This is just a loose guideline. But, you know, there's that. I think there's another Titanite shard. Yeah, they're just giving them away at this point. So, right now, I think I'm just going to go get my Estus shards, my Estus flasks back. And then we're going to go through a graveyard. The graveyard is, it's not really worth spending too much time in there. Oh yeah, it wasn't embered. So, this is a pretty popular PvP area, so I wanted to get, you know, invaded if it was possible. Just to show you guys what kind of shenanigans you might be running into around here in that case, sorry. So, this graveyard over here, basically it's full of zombies, I guess. They're like, I don't know, not hollows. I mean, all these hollows are undead, so it's a little weird that these guys are more zombie-like than the other ones. But in any case, some of these guys have maggots in them, and they will get you with the maggots. So here's Astora's greatsword. And there's also the Executioner's greatsword we're going to get a little bit later. The Executioner's greatsword looks pretty sweet, I think, but it's not the most popular weapon. I mean, it's a greatsword, so it's not the worst, but it's not stat-wise as efficient as a lot of the other ones. So pretty much what you're going to do in this graveyard is grab what you can and then just get out of there, because these guys keep coming infinitely out of the ground. They give you nothing for souls. Like, it's convenient that I'm talking about this right now. So I just killed 2 of them, and I got 22 souls. So you get like 11 souls per, which is nothing. It's just not even worth killing them. They don't chase you, so pretty much just run past them. So some of these guys will have those maggot beasts coming out of them, like him. All of these zombies are like extra weak to fire, so you can hit them with a torch, and you know, it'll stagger them and stun them, and they won't really be able to do anything about it. The maggot beasts can hit you with maggots, and they have like special grab attacks and stuff, but mostly these guys are just stronger versions of the little zombies and weak versions of the big maggot beasts. As you can see, the fire does a lot of damage to them. So right over here, the giant will be shooting those guys. Whenever you see... Oh, Grave Warden. So this is your first Grave Warden you're going to fight, and I think I just clean them up. Yeah. They're really aggressive, and they usually don't die as easily as that. But, yeah. If you haven't made peace with the giant yet, this area can be a real pain, because you want that undead bone shard that I just grabbed. And the giant will knock you off the cliff pretty easily. So I just got invaded, and I'm going to hang out down here and see if this dude wants to play. And pretty much, I think he's got an Astora's greatsword, or maybe a claymore. I'm not sure. I think it's the Astora's greatsword. So pretty much this is going to be hyper armor versus hyper armor. So I'm either going to try to trade with him like that, and I think he out damages me right now, so I need to play a little tighter. So pretty much what ends up happening is I start outspacing him. So I just start paying attention more and using my spacing to my advantage and my thrust attack. Pretty much if I'm going to trade with this guy, I need to trade with thrusts. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So the way our latency is working, like we ended up trading right there instead of interrupting each other. And so he's going to get a little bit of phantom range on me in a second. So pretty much what that means is, you know, he reaches a little further than his actual character hits. It's just the way that the, right there, yeah. So the sword didn't actually hit me, but it did hit me, because on his screen he's a little closer to me. So the latency is a little interesting. Knowing how much lag there is between you and who you're fighting helps a lot, because then you can plan accordingly. Our connection was pretty good, so I could rely on my eyes a little more than, you know, sometimes. Sometimes you just have to be extra careful and roll like more than you normally would, and yeah, just be further away. So but that wasn't the case, so I just used my poke attacks and made sure that he was running into my pokes, because he doesn't get to see my animation right away. So a lot of times what'll happen is they'll run in thinking they're not going to get hit with anything, and you know, you're going to get your poke in. So when they're running towards you, they have a slight range advantage, but you also have a kind of an advantage because they can't quite see what you're doing right away. So if you hit them on your screen, you'll usually hit them as long as they don't roll. So interrupting their attacks is a little easier. But that's enough of that for now. So when he died, I got some Estus refilled. So you'll either get 1 or 2. And so whenever you kill a red phantom, you're gonna want to top off your health before that Estus comes back. Otherwise, if you're full, you'll just waste it. So right now, I got hit with a Lloyd's Talisman or an Undead Hunter Charm, and if you try to heal, that animation happens, and it usually results in you getting hit because you can't roll out of it, or it's just an uninterruptible shitty animation where nothing happens. So whenever you are hit with a Lloyd's Talisman or an Undead Hunter Charm, you get that like steamy mist that's on you. So right now I'm just trying to activate these thralls, because there's thrall ambushes over here, and I'm trying to get them to come out, because the thrall ambushes in this area are profound. Like they can really put some work in on you, and they throw fire bombs. Yeah, so they don't all throw them, but when they do, I don't know, they use their teamwork well. So there's a thrall right there. I missed his jump down, and yeah, you should be able to maybe 1 or 2 shot them. They're not very like durable enemies, but they can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time because they attack really quickly typically. So that right there was an ambush that you can usually, if you pay attention, you can see the people hanging over the edge eternally. That's like definitely a very video gamey thing. It's not a thing that you would see ever in real life, but that's a Dark Souls gamey thing where you'll see them just kind of hanging out, waiting for you so they can kill you. So right over here, you just kill these archers, kill the guy with the shield, and then you go up this way. And to the right, there's a thrall ambush. To the left, there's an evangelist and a bunch of other hollows. So pretty much right there, I just rely on my hyper armor to trade with them. And I'm not even going to bother with the evangelist and those guys, because the only thing that's over there is an undead hunter charm, and it's just not worth it. That's too hard of a fight for not enough of a reward, honestly. And you don't get a ton of souls anyway, because all those guys are going to throw Lloyd's Talismans at you, and you're not going to be able to heal, and a lot of them can hit pretty damn hard. And there's no room to maneuver, so the evangelist is just going to tank her way through and whoop your ass. So I'm doing really poorly at parrying over here. So I ended up eating a few hits because for some reason I don't know, wasn't doing well at parrying halberds at that moment. So there's a really good ambush right over here. As soon as you clear that doorway, they're all going to come out and just start swinging. And this is pretty typical of how that goes. It can be worse. Like, they can just outright kill you immediately. Like, I have a lot of health. For the level that we are, we have like 1,200 health or some like wildly large amount. And they almost killed me. And that didn't go poorly. Like, I took care of them fairly quickly. There's another 2 in here. And usually you can get them as they drop down. If they hit you as they drop down, they'll interrupt you like that. Like, it just poise breaks you. Especially if you're just one-handing and you don't have any poise at all. So you can get around that ambush by going up that ramp on the other side. It's like a roof ramp that I looked at for a second. And I'm pretty sure I'll look at it again because I'm going to go up to that area. Yeah, so you see that slanted ramp? Right over there. pretty much it's almost attached to this, and you can go up to like a roof area. So right where the two archers were, and there was a shield guy and another archer, you can jump across to this slanted roof, very much like the one that you came down to get to that area, and you can avoid that ambush entirely. But that's no fun. So there's two grave wardens over here, and pretty much you want to kite them out and not fight them together. So right now, you gotta be really careful with these guys because they cause bleed build up really fast, and they're very aggressive. If I didn't have the blood bite ring on right now, they probably would have bled me and they might have killed me. So just be aware. These guys are not a joke. Especially if there's two of them. Like, you definitely don't want to be tangling with two of them at the same time. You can parry them, but they switch up their attack speed enough that I don't really try very often to parry them. And I'm actually in a bit of trouble right now. I don't have any flasks or any healing items at all. So this next part is a little interesting. If you would have heard my live commentary, I was not panicking, but there was a little bit of urgency in my voice. I was like, ah. You'll end up seeing. It gets pretty harrowing in a minute. So you head up this way, and there's a couple of guys just sitting around, and you can kill them. And then right at the end over there, to the right, is an ember, and pretty good ambush. Right now I'm checking for healing items, and I don't have any. So right now I'm gonna try to see if I can kite these guys out, because I want embers because I fought the dancer off screen a bunch of times and died a lot after I did my suicide farming, so that was kind of a waste because I totally could have just fought the dancer a bunch of times and got all my deaths in that way. But yeah, so this guy with the great axe can be really troubling because when he hits you, he hits you. And he does not play games. But luckily, that guy decided to suicide bomb and almost kill the great axe guy. Like, he's got a sliver of health left, and that's kind of a bummer. Because right now, you got these two guys, and I'm playing real risky right now because I need to kill these guys. They just keep throwing these throwing knives at me and just cheesing you out real hard. Like, that's like some PvP stuff right there, and they're just trying to chip away at your health with those throwing knives at a point where you really can't take any damage at all. So right there, he delayed that chop, and I was like, ah, when I was playing. So I just started panic rolling because I didn't want that chop to kill me. And then I just got an Estus flask back, which I didn't realize right away. And I'll notice in a second. So I'm looking at this giant because he's not usually standing up over here. And I think you could probably hit him with arrows and kill him, because if you shoot the giants in the head with arrows, they take a lot of damage. They take a lot of locational damage in the head. Right there's a poison trap. Usually it's not enough to get you poisoned, and then poison's not usually a big deal. Although in my current predicament, poison would be a real problem. So I decided to run back and grab this ember if I could, because there's only like 2 of these guys left, and I think I can take them. Especially if one of them is just going to take care of himself for me. And then you got the shield guy. So pretty much probably just roll behind him and hit him. Yeah, pretty easy. So there's that ember. I think I'm up to like 1 now, so that's pretty great because I am gonna die at some point just because, you know, it's Dark Souls. It's gonna happen, and I find that I do really poorly when I try to speak and play at the same time. I don't know. It takes a lot of brain power for me to move around and fight in an effective way and then try to explain what I'm doing at the same time. So whenever you see these streamers that are PvPing and they're doing a really good job and you know, they're providing live commentary, that's very impressive to me because that's a lot of thinking and speaking at the same time. So you go down this elevator and you notice I ran by those clerics because they don't really drop anything that's worth it, and they throw fireballs, and ranged attacks will just chip away at you, and I just didn't have a lot of health, so pretty much I came over and unlocked the shortcut to the bonfire, and now I'm pretty sure, yep, I'm going to go back to Firelink Shrine and level up because I have a decent amount of souls, and you probably will too at this point. So I'm just selling all of my souls so that I can get some levels. And I put it all into endurance this time because I keep running out of stamina, and I don't like that. So I bought some charcoal pine resin because there's a few enemies that are weak to fire. I don't know if I actually use it while playing in this area, but I unequipped a few things so that my roll would be better. And there's a purple summon sign. I didn't really feel like doing any PvP at the moment because I have there's a lot to do, and I didn't want this episode to be longer than an hour, which is why I sped up a lot of the admin stuff. So you can go to the right down those stairs, and there's an evangelist and an item, and I don't remember if the item's worth it. I almost never get it, so I don't think it is. So this area with the giant, there's a Lloyd's sword ring right there. If you're gonna stop and get hit by this giant for anything, do it for that. Otherwise, none of the other stuff's worth it, and you can just run through this area and not get hit by the giant very easily if you just sprint through, because he's usually a step behind. But because you go and grab the items, you're going to get hit by him, and that's not good. Because he does a lot of damage. A lot of the stuff that seems like it's not doing any damage to me is doing quite a bit. I just, I have a lot of health at this point because of, health is... Until these enemies start hitting like trucks, you can play really sloppy with a lot of health, and that's not a problem. So if you're watching a walkthrough and you're trying to get some new guy stuff, get better, then you're gonna probably want to get a lot of health because it's gonna make the game a lot more forgiving. So right there is a miracle called Seek Guidance. You can see messages and summon signs, I think, with it if you're not embered, which is pretty good. I've never used it because embers are usually not that hard to come by, especially if you do, you get summoned. So you put your white sign down and you help people with bosses. You get embers every time you kill a boss with them, plus souls, and that's how I got through this game the first time. So up here is an evangelist, and I think there's an ember. So yeah, I'm trying to get that ember. So I got hit by something. I don't even know what the hell it was over there. Yeah, nothing came and hit me or anything like that, so it was a little weird. I thought I got hit by an arrow, but upon further inspection, it was some random weird shit. So make sure you climb down that ladder. I can't tell you how many times I kill that dude, and then I just walk right off the ladder, and I take a huge chunk of health off of my life bar, and sometimes I die, actually. It's super embarrassing. Or, because I'll be helping people play. I'll be playing with my buddies and trying to get them into this, and then I'll be, Sherpaing them through it, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, so then we just go this way. Ah, crunch. So right here is a Mimic. You can get probably 2 heavy attacks on him, but you should have enough Undead Hunter Charms at this point to be able to hit him once, and then throw a charm at him, and then you can just stab him to death. Because you probably could have gotten another 3 attacks, heavy attacks, out of that. And you get the Deep Braille Divine Tome, and that's going to get you some miracles, like a Deep Protection, I think, and not Atonement, because you get that in Firekeeper. But it's some of the dark miracles that you get from that. So this is your first Cathedral Knight that you face. He's got, so the first thing he did was Perseverance, so now he's got a ton of poise, and he poised through stuff. And the second one was a weird blessed weapon thing that leaves little balls on the floor, and they pop, and they do extra damage. But pretty much, usually what's going to happen is they're going to turtle up behind that shield, and you can use the weapon art of a longsword, or, anything that's got a guard break ability. You can even kick them usually, because their poise is not that good. Well, their, what's the word? Stability. Their shield stability is not the best. So then you can go into this area, and there's, I don't know what this thing's called. Curse Beast or something? This little weird, wacky spider deal. So when it hits you, it does curse damage. You can see that was probably a quarter of my build-up bar, so I just got out of there. I'm not trying to play that game. Curse is instant death, and getting instant death in 3 hits is dumb. So if you have fire bombs or a bow, you can just kind of hang out right here and cheese him out real hard, and there's nothing at all he can do about it. If you get into where the second archway is, so the archway closest to me, he has like a not a vomit attack, but it's like a vomit attack, and that will curse you up real hard. So try to be about as far away as I am if you can. That's the optimal safety range where they can't get you. He drops the Aldrich's sapphire, which I'm checking right now. I'm pretty sure it recovers FP on critical attacks. Yes. So when you parry and riposte, backstabs, break their guards and riposte, you will get extra FP to do cool FP stuff with. And yeah. So right now I'm preparing for, there's going to be an NPC invader. It's going to be Longfinger Kirk. And he's got the armor of Thorns, so when he rolls near you, he does damage. And he's got a long sword that does bleed. It's the Barbed straight sword. It's actually what I played through the entirety of my first like actual playthrough where I actually beat the game. I ended up using the Barbed straight sword. They nerfed it a bit, well, they nerfed Carthus Rouge. That was a sick parry whiff right there. Also, that was a bad partial. So, in any case, this dude does a lot of damage, even though I have a bunch of health. So you want to just play cautiously around him. And, you know, he did a roll, and then he did a thrust attack right after. A lot of times enemies will roll and then attack immediately. And, so you see a roll, if it's an NPC, you can pretty safely assume they're going to do a rolling attack if they're close. So you can just hit that parry, get them. And that helps a lot. But spacing is key. Things to remember too with longsword, just most weapons, if you attack once and get hit by the first, if they attack once and you get hit by the first shot, they can guaranteed hit you a second time. But sometimes what ends up happening is they'll try to hit you a third time. Like, people will get greedy and they'll just start spamming attacks. And that works for less experienced players, but as soon as you get to that third attack, you can roll away and not get hit by the third attack. So what'll happen is people will either roll away, or if you have a small shield out, you can hit the parry button and it's not an auto parry, but if they swing that third time, like, you are getting a parry, and that punishes people that are real spammy. And so that doesn't work with every weapon, because some weapons you can't parry, some attacks you can't parry. So if he hits you like 2 times and then tries to hit you with a jumping attack, you can't parry jumping attacks. So, you know, it's not a cover-all strategy, but if they're getting real spammy with it, you can you know, you can hit them with a parry and punish that. And some people don't learn sometimes, so you can often get them with that. And I think a lot of the NPCs will hit or swing at least 3 times. So that's the shortcut back to the bonfire. And oh, I just realized I don't even cover the rafters area in this video, so I'm gonna have to do that in a separate one, because I get to a different area. And there's a blessed gem up there, which is actually good. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go and do another video just to show that, and I do want this character to get that. Plus I want to show people the normal way to get over to the Rosarias finger covenant, so you can be a finger. And there's a deep ring too over there, or yeah, there's a deep ring. So there's a ring that gives you a free attunement slot. Pretty decent loot up there, and a pale tongue or 2 so you can respec. But either way, so right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill that giant, to the right over there. And if you notice, this bridge is up now. Did I raise that bridge? I must have. Yeah, I pulled the lever and I raised that bridge. So I think that's going to trigger patches later. I'm not 100% sure what it is I did that triggered patches, because I'm going to run into him. So there's a little introspection. So the giant will just stay sitting, wallowing in his filth until you get close to them. And then what you want to do is you want to stick towards their left foot, because they do the stomp attack with their left foot less frequently. And you don't want to lock onto them, because you're going to lock onto like the center of their body, which is not going to help you in most cases. So pretty much you see his foot go up, you roll, and then keep chopping away at his legs. And that's more or less it. These guys are kind of not a big deal to fight. I thought they were going to be a huge pain in the ass because, like, you know, giant, right? So, yeah, I locked on to his leg real quick just to try to get an idea about how much health he had. Because that's a good thing about locking on, is you can see how much health they have. But just chop away at his legs, and sooner or later he'll die. And when he dies, what happens is he'll drop dung pie and a large Titanite shard. And the large Titanite shard is actually really good right now if you're not using this Hollow Slayer greatsword. That'd be the beginning half of you getting to a +4 weapon, because you need large shards for the +4 weapons, and +4 is you know, the higher it is, the more damage it does, and you know, you're ideally trying to get to 10. So the faster you get there, the easier of a time you are going to have killing things, or the better shield you'll have. You don't have to upgrade armor in this game, luckily, so that's pretty nice. You don't have to have as many shards, but the armor in this game is not as useful. Although they did just patch the armor a bit, and I saw PvP Skills did like an underrated builds video where he's got a dude with like heavy armor and a mace, and he's just clobbering dudes, and yeah, he's really not taking a whole lot of damage at all, which is pretty impressive because the heavy armor didn't do shit before, and it seems to have improved a little bit because he's got like the ring of steel protection on and all this other stuff, like some real heavy armor and things, especially in PvE. So he'll be in like the Ashes of Ariandel DLC, and all the followers are just like doing their thing, like group attacking him like hard, and he's just taking it. It's like he gets hit like 15 or 16 times and he's still not dead, which is like really impressive because those guys hit hard. So heavy armor can be worth it, but I have not played around too much with the heavy armor, and early on it's too much of an investment. So usually I just go with health. So right now I'm just trying to get through this muck, and I think there's an item on this side, so that's why I'm going through and killing all these thralls. Plus it's better than running through the muck, because the muck is slow. And I apparently got an item drop from that thrall. I got excited and I thought it might be a flamberge, and I don't think it is. I think it's like a Titanite shard, which is great because it's one less that I may have to buy later. But you know, again, Titanite shards are becoming less important at this point because they're a lot more common. So right now I'm gonna put the broadsword on, and I'm gonna equip some charcoal pine resin on my broadsword because these guys are weak to fire. Normally that would take like, I don't know, 4 or 5 stamina bars worth of attacks to kill him, and I ended up getting him in like 2 or 3 shots. So it's more of the same with this guy, except you know, you're gonna want to. I usually just ignore the goo piles, but this ends up getting a little hairy because they like that worm dude comes over and starts jacking me up, and it's not the best. I actually have to like break away and drink. But usually you have a much easier time just kind of going over here and just chopping away, and you almost never get everybody over there attacking you. But you know, I end up getting stepped on, and stupid worm bro still alive, trying to hit me with the maggots and stuff. I think I end up getting him through his foot right here, yeah. Which only shows how good the longsword class of weapons is in a crowd control kind of situation, because I really didn't do anything to try to hit these guys, and I ended up killing a decent amount of them. And right here is like 3 or 4 of them. So once you kill these guys, the the Drang set is here, which is the Dranglaic set. I guess they didn't want to say Dranglaic because for some reason Miyazaki does not like Dark Souls 2 at all, and you know, I have my problems with it, but it's still a good game. It's just mechanically different, and if you take it for what it is and just approach it as that, and you don't try to have like preconceived notions of what it might be, like it's not Dark Souls 1. It's not at all Dark Souls 1. Mechanically, it is just not as satisfying to me. But it's definitely different. It's a more you need to take a more thoughtful approach to most things. You can't just run in and Leroy Jenkins your way through and just reaction your way through everything. Like, even if you are, like, good, a lot of the ambushes and the combat will get you. Like, a lot of it's just overwhelming. Like, they have a lot of dudes that are meant to overwhelm you, and that's the encounter design in that one, where you can't just run through. I mean, you can, but it's not as friendly to it as maybe Dark Souls 1 or even 3 can be. Because in 3, you can just run your way through a lot of stuff. I think I do that in a minute, actually, because this guy ends up being more of a pain in the butt than I could handle. And a lot of times it's worth just breaking contact and, you know, just trying to get more favorable. Yeah, I got stuck in this area, and I was like, oh no, don't kill me. For some reason, ultra greatsword enemies, they really give me a hard time. They end up being super aggressive, and I'll try to parry like their kicks and other like shoulder charges and other dumb shit like that, and it just, my timing for those are usually really good, but it just is not a parryable attack. So I think I try to get behind him for a backstab, but that doesn't work. Yeah. So with this dude, you can parry his attacks, almost all of them. He just was hitting harder than I was ready to deal with at that time, so I just pretty much chugged some Sunny D and ran away. Right over here is an Ember, and if you go around this side, usually nothing's going to bother you, and you can unlock this shortcut to the bonfire. I think this is the last, yeah, this is the last shortcut you can unlock, so this will be your boss run, more than likely, and you can avoid most stuff. So you open this door, and if you open this door and you go to this next area that I'm going to, which you'll see in a second, there's going to be a guy in the Katarina armor, and that's unbreakable patches. If he's not there, once you open that door, you can quit out and reload the area, and he will typically be there. I don't know what I did to trigger him to be there this time, because that bridge wasn't up a second ago. I think it's the other bridge that yeah, it's the one to the right. The one to the right is up, and that's the one that I put up. And this one he put up, I guess. So maybe he came across or something. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But this is Unbreakable Patches, and he's a shithead. In every game, he just fucks you. And he's not a very good vendor in this game. Like, he's a pretty good vendor in Demon's Souls, and he's a decent vendor in Dark Souls original recipe. Like, you can get the masks off of him if Pinwheel doesn't drop the mask that you want. So that's always good. So you can make your giant dad builds. The legend continues. But yeah, right now I'm just trying to decide if I want to kill him or not, because I don't want to pay 12,000 souls to get that armor, because I wanted to continue the Sigurd storyline, and Sigurd's storyline will get you a Titanite slab, and there's not a lot of them in the game, so I wanted to get them. So pretty much, he's got this Zweihander and he's got the Pierce Shield, but he's not real good with them. He doesn't hit too hard. Normally he has like a sword and a shield and a spear. So I mean, I just got him into a healing loop and I just kicked him off, because it's pretty funny. But sadly, the items are down there, and that's I do not feel like wasting the time to get them. So basically what I did was I, through the magic of editing, just restarted. So if you
quit out and come back, whatever item something dropped, like say fell off a cliff or it's just in a way that you just can't reach it, it will be where the character normally spawns. So right now I'm just running through this bonfire because I don't have any flasks, and none of these guys drop anything that's worth getting. And there's it's a pretty significant ambush. Like, these guys can overwhelm you, so I just decided not to bother. And if you come here and you've killed Longfinger Kirk, you get the Armor of Thorns, which is not the best armor set, but it looks pretty cool if you want to be all spiny like a hedgehog. And when you have the set on, every time you roll by somebody, you do an amount of damage depending on how many pieces of the armor you have. So if you have the whole set, it does something like 30 damage per roll, which is not a lot, but it's still, you know, it's chip damage. And a lot of times what'll happen is I'll put on just one piece of the armor, or in like a PvP setting, I'll just have like one piece of the armor ready to be easily equipped, so I can just item swap real quick in the menu. And if somebody's using like Tears of Denial or something, and it's getting ready to go off, or it has gone off, I'll just switch to that, and then I'll run up to them and just start rolling, because a lot of times they can't avoid it. And you know, especially if you didn't have it on before, they're not going to expect it. And you know, Tears of Denial only has, you have 1 health, so literally any damage will get you, and you can almost get them always with a roll. Like, that's when you start whipping out your throwing knives and other nonsensical cheese, because Tears of Denial is not super cheesy, but you know, it's extra health, so like it could be a whole, it could really be all that you need to win. So when they use Tears of Denial, then I'm not saying like chug up some Estus or anything, but it's you know, it's a gray area for some people, especially if they try to do like honor duels and crap. But that's neither here nor there. So I killed that greatsword guy because he aggroed me, and you know, I'm not gonna let that shit stand, especially after he was beating me up. And then there's another Cathedral Knight over there just sitting, and he won't start fighting you until you start fighting him, or something breaks that bench. Sometimes the fireballs from the guys will break the bench, but he'll just sit there and take it, and you can almost always get him before he actually, that was weird, I don't know why he fell down, but you can usually kill him before he or get him almost to be completely dead before he actually fully stands up, if you deal with him last. So over here is a bunch of NPC summons. You got Horus and Henri you can summon, and then you got my boy whatever his name is. Just a random dude. There's almost always a bunch of summons kicking around here, because this is an easy and kind of fun boss fight. There's also Cirrus of the Sunless Realms. You can get her to be summoned over here. And there might be another summon too, but I don't know. But if you move her storyline far enough forward, Cirrus, then she'll be there for you to summon. So she's not very helpful because she doesn't, like, she's got like an S stock. And this is like a largely like crowd control fight. This is going to be like a Dynasty Warriors kind of thing. You just kind of go through and chop through crowds of people. So the gimmick to this fight is, you see that guy right in front of me that's got that like glowing on him? That's going to bounce from one to another. It'll stay on one person for a set amount of time and switch to another one unless you kill them first. And when you deal damage to the person that has the glowing on them, you will deal damage to the collective life bar of the boss. And that's the gimmick to the first part of this fight. The second part of this fight, there'll be an Archdeacon that spawns, and he will be the one that you have to hit until they all die. So pretty much what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of doing a little crowd control. Like, I'll do some damage and then chisel away at the rest of the guys. And do some damage and chisel away. If you got any sort of great weapon, this is a pretty fun fight for you. Especially, I really like the great club in this fight because that baseball swing is hilarious. So right now, that's the Archdeacon. He's coming up. And I kind of did a dumb thing right here by crowding up on him, but I do enough damage per second that it's not a big deal, because a lot of these guys are big and beefy. And they can cast Wrath of the Gods and do these belly flop things. They can have a lot of hyper armor, so you can get yourself in a real shit situation if you just get in there like I did. But that's pretty much it. You just keep on them, and you'll kill them. You get the small doll, which is a key item. You cannot get into Erithil without it. There's like an invisible wall, and there'll be a beast probably chasing you, because if he's giving you a hard time, you try to run away, and he will pin you against this invisible wall, and it'll fucking jack you up. Funny thing is, you can go on the other side of that invisible wall if you have the small doll, and that will it'll bounce off of it. It's pretty funny. So right now I'm just doing some administrative stuff. It was a little janky with my editing there. Usually I like to not have things just like smash cut, but it happened twice in this, and I just recording the voiceover right now. I don't really feel like messing with it, because then that'll kind of throw off this whole voice clip. But right now I'm talking to Henri and trying to get her storyline forward, because for the ending that I want, I need to advance her storyline as far as I can. So whenever you see her, just exhaust all her dialogue options. So with the Deacons, you can get Deep Soul, which is like a homing thing, and the Cleric's Candlestick. Deep Soul is like a hex that homes in slowly. It's not great. And the Cleric's Candlestick is absolute junk, so don't waste the souls on it. Like, the souls are more valuable than the Cleric's Candlestick, and souls are pretty, like, 20,000 souls is a lot right now. So what I did was, instead of getting the Cleric's Candlestick, I got that key, the tower key. And right now, I think, getting my stamina up more, because I was kind of running low on that fight, even though I was like swinging for the fences. And he's come back now, so he's got the Pontiff Knife Curved Sword, a War Pick, a bunch of other cool stuff. So his inventory is expanded. You get some fire arrows and stuff. Pretty nice. So right now, if you talk to her, she's going to tell you that Orbeck is a problem. And you do not want him to be a problem. But if you're a sorcerer, then Orbeck being a problem is kind of a pain in the butt. So getting the Lord of Hollows ending and being a sorcerer is really tricky, because you're gonna really miss out on a lot of your good spells, because of you're gonna have to kill your sorcery trainer. There's a way to work around it, I'm sure, but I haven't figured it out. So yeah, pretty much I'm just gonna see if he's got anything that I want, and then I'm just gonna chop him up. This is not a very interesting fight, You just kind of get him in the corner. I got him in a healing cycle, and then I chopped him up. So I didn't even bother. I didn't bother slowing that one down to normal speed, because it's not even an interesting fight. Sometimes it can be. It can be pretty fun, but that was not a case of that. So yeah, you get the Morion blade from that, which is pretty good. It's a bleed weapon. It's got the straight sword moveset, which is pretty great. And when you have it on and you're at low health, it's like a red tear stone ring, which is pretty sweet. So you do another 20%, and it stacks with the red tear stone ring. So if you have a red tear stone ring and a Morion blade on, if you have two Morion blades, like say you have one in each hand, and you're like two-handing one of them, and you have a red tear stone ring activated, you can do some serious extra damage. Even with just a Morion blade and a red tear stone ring, you're going to be doing 40% extra damage, and that's not a small amount, especially when you get to higher levels, because some of these weapons will hit for 800. So 20% of 800 is 160. Yeah,
So that's another 160 damage. That almost puts you up to 1,000, 20 more percent. You're hitting over 1,000 right there. And you know, 1,000's a lot. That's pretty much two-shotting somebody, even if they have a boatload of health. I don't think I've ever seen anybody with more than like 1,800 health. 1,800 is a lot. Like you'd have to get it like, oh shit, I don't even know. You'd have to have like a life ring +3, the ring of favor and protection +2. Although there's a +3 version now, I think. So that might help a little bit. But pretty much you need some pretty balling rings, and you need a lot of stat investment to get that to that point. So right now I was just enjoying the view, looking back on where I fought Udex and the castle. So what'll happen here is, if you didn't kill Patches, there's a encounter with Patches, and pretty much he'll trap you in that room and try to make you jump to your death. Like he'll lock that door, and there's no way out. So you'll notice an item and you'll be like, oh, this is pretty neat. So you jump down and you get the Firekeeper's robe. Well, the whole set actually, and take a pretty decent chunk of damage. And another pretty decent chunk of damage. So your best bet is to take all your stuff off, because you take less damage the less weight you have, and the higher your dex is, the less damage, fall damage you'll take. So you get the Estus ring, you put that on, and it makes your Estus heal like a lot more. So yeah, it's a worthwhile ring, especially at this point when we have as much health as we do. It's going to be a real Estus saver, because it almost, it's like 2.5 times what your normal Estus would heal, and that's a lot. Or at least it feels like it's 2.5 times. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we're going to cover in this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope this helped.